What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Preacher's Corner. Today we have a special guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to let you see for yourself, but I am excited to be back. We are back for episode number 4. And so we have a little different format tonight and moving forward. So I hope that you guys like it. But again, welcome to Preacher's Corner. Enjoy. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is episode number 4. Number 4. I can't wait. It's awesome. We have a bunch of other guests lined up, but today I am excited. We have 333 back. People might remember him from episode number 2. He was our very first guest. And so he brought somebody along. We had a cancellation and somebody got tied up and they couldn't record tonight. And I was asked 333 if he wanted to jump on it. He's like, I have somebody for you. And I was like, well, you know what? You can come on too. So
that's right.
Before we dive in, I want to introduce Dr. Spin. Let us know just a little bit like about what you do, things like that, and then we'll dive deeper as we continue on.
Goodness. So I have a pretty interesting backstory. I think I've been an Austin, Texas boy my whole life here, going on 55 years now. And I got my start in the, in the Austin of the old days when it was a lot more wild and free, on and on and on. And I eventually stumbled my way into bartending and things like that, and ended up working on 6th Street for about 4 years, and Red Rose of Texas another 2 years. So suffice to say, by the time I was 26, I had all the sex, drugs, pussy, and everything that you could possibly want. I was ruined as a young man by 26 because literally I never wanted to see another naked woman again after 2 years in a titty bar. I mean, no shit, it was just like that. But anyway, so unbeknownst to me at the time, that's what, started my addiction. And for my 30 years of being an addict, I basically thought I was successfully navigating the waters of being a functioning alcoholic. Did well in the business world and whatnot, but never really was able to grab success and hold on to it because there was always either the drugs or the alcohol pulling me back. And it took me a long time to realize that. You really got to be humble and man up and be responsible unto yourself, especially love yourself. And learning to love yourself is one of the hardest things that all of us have to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's a journey of self. It's a journey of discovery. A lot of people don't make it. After 30 years of doing everything under the sun myself, I'm quite shocked I'm sitting here, talking and being coherent, because I know a lot of other people whose brains are just gone.
Yeah.
And you guys all know that story. So, Willow Springs, where me and 333 were where we met, ended up being my 7th treatment center. And that's and it honestly, it probably would not have taken hold as much as it did had it not been for one critical component. And I'm here to absolutely, make sure that anybody out there who is suffering from alcoholism or addiction, go check with your doctor and ask for naltrexone and Wellbutrin. It's a miracle combination. It'll take away your cravings and it'll keep you nice and calm. And it's done wonders for me. The stuff's been around 25 years, and I wish I had heard of it 25 years ago, because those 2 medications were a game changer for me. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So that's a little bit about Dr. Spin. I like before we jump in, like the name Dr. Spin. That's pretty that's the first thing I noticed. I did a little when I went to community college. I did a little bit of DJing and everything. And so my name when I was DJing was DJ Two Tone.
What's a little DJ? Hold on. What's a little DJ? Let's dig into that right now.
Like not that long.
What's that called?
Like not that long. Like the time was like little.
Like little, like I wanted to play on an FM radio play.
No,
Like
I had the whole turntable and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so my because I was black and white, and so black and white are tones, and so DJ Two Tones. And then look, it was a double meaning because DJ Two Tones as in black and white, but then I would mix two types of music, so two tones.
Way to use your race. Way to use the race card. Way to go. Way to go. Good job.
But
way to go.
So I told you like how I got my nickname DJ Two Tones when I was doing that. And they know how like I got my nickname Preacher. We have 333 Scorpio. We have Dr. Spin. How did you get Dr. Spin?
An old radio DJ back in the 90s for KLBJ FM. And I was the overnight guy. Basically came from spinning records. Dr. Spin, records on the turntable.
Old school. Old school.
Still had those in the early 90s. Yeah, they did,
Now it's digital. You put like a USB and it's digital.
So for about 2 years there, I was the voice of a lot of radio commercials in Austin. And anybody out there who's an old Austinite might remember my voice from Rockin' the River and Electrifying the Lake. KLBJ.
That's awesome. We got radio royalty in the house.
I wish.
So one thing we like to do, because the bulk of the show can get pretty deep at times, and so just the types of things we hit and things like that. And so one thing we like to do in the beginning, just to lighten the mood, is ask every guest 3 interesting facts about yourself. So Dr. Spin, what are 3 interesting facts that you would like the audience to know?
Is this kind of like 2 truths and a lie?
That's exactly what I
said. That's the same thing 333 said.
My boy, you ain't lying, you my boy.
That is crazy.
No, I'm not. I'm actually very.
Oh man.
I've been fortunate to have traveled quite a lot. I got into after the bartending scene. And computers came along about the mid-90s. I got involved with Dell and IBM. Here's an interesting one. I was employee number 86 computers back when they were that small of a company.
Get out of here.
Yeah, should have kept that job, right? Should
Get out of here.
Howard Stern, should have kept the Dell job. Might have been up there a little bit more, but the twists and turns.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so there's that. And all right, here you go. Interesting thing, and 333 knows this one, I believe. I was bartending at the Embassy Suites. Also, this is also very early 90s, with another gentleman at the time. His name just happened to be Matthew McConaughey.
No. What? Yo, and I love Matthew McConaughey.
Before he was famous, 10 years before he was famous. But yeah, so he's still here in Austin. I hear, and I would like to, someday like go up to his house and go, "Hey, Matt, remember me?" I have the balls to do it,
That's crazy.
What? That's awesome.
I love
make him remember me. I probably could,
I love
That's
Matthew
awesome.
McConaughey. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
And then let's see. So there's that, and another interesting thing. I have been 1, 2, 3, 4. I have catered at the governor's mansion of Austin, Texas. For 4 different presidents and met 4 different presidents.
Really? Wow.
Oh, that's so cool.
What gets you?
Yeah, it was interesting. Bill Clinton was probably the most interesting character because he just happened to walk into the kitchen while I'm sitting there making like these bacon wrapped shrimp and sticking like a toothpick in, kind of one of those appetizer things. And this guy comes up and he just starts, down the shrimp. How you doing, son? They're all acting.
So that's pretty funny. You being so like us being basically at 2 opposite ends of the United States. I met Bill Clinton
Oh
and
yeah.
Hillary one time because I'm from a small town called Geneva, New York,
All right.
and there's a college there, Hobart and William Smith, and the president of the college, his name's Mark Guerin, and he was actually on Bill Clinton's. He ran Bill Clinton's election staff, and so one time Bill Clinton and Hillary were coming to do a speech at the college, and my grandpa was best friends with the president of the college, and so we got to eat dinner with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So I remember asking. I think I was like 10, and I remember asking like a Secret Service guy, like, so what? Because back then I wanted to be Secret Service when I was like 10. And so I'm asking him like, what do I have to do to become Secret Service? And I think all he was thinking was like, yo, kid, leave me alone. trying to make sure the president doesn't get hurt.
I'm trying to do my job, kid. Come on.
But thank you for that. So from like 333 knows how we did things. And like I told people in the intro that I so amazingly recorded before we did this. We're trying a new format. So you are the guinea pig, Dr. Spin. So
we'll
Pick
see.
on the new guy.
So what we used to do is we used to ask people like, what was life like prior to addiction? What was life like during addiction? And now what's life like after? But Scorpio and I were talking, and it's almost like it became like bullet points and things like that. And people tell their story all the time, and people hear people's stories all the time. And so we really wanted something to go like deeper and really connect more with people. And so instead of asking like what was life like before, we want to ask people like, who were you? And really get down to like the inner self of everybody. And so before we do that though, I've noticed a lot of people ask people all the time like, hey, how you doing today? But nobody really like sticks around to be like, how you doing? Well, how much time you got? Most people are like, how you doing? And they're like, man, I hope you stay good and keep walking. We believe that Preacher's Corner is like not only a safe place, but it's a place where people can come and feel like they can just say how they really feel today and things like that. And so I want to ask you, Dr. Spin, the first person in this new format of questioning, make it sound like it's like some interrogation. But this new format of questioning is how are you doing today? Like really, how are you doing today?
First and foremost, I'm a Pisces, and so I'm very much a man of feeling. It's very interesting having an ESP type sense of perception, because that's how I perceive the world, is just through feeling more so than logical thought. And that's just something of the Piscean nature. It really is. It's kind of difficult to explain, but it's an inherent ability that, all of us have. And, they say we're a species with amnesia and that we've all forgot. So how am I feeling? Today I'm content. And that's been one of my major focus points, is every day, focusing on the positive things that I've done for myself. Like I stated earlier, learning to love yourself and whatnot. So yeah, I'm content with today's actions and today's accomplishments. Happy with them. So there you go.
That's awesome. Nice. Thank you. 333, how you doing today?
Man, I'm great. I'm glad to be a part of this movement. Glad my buddy right here, Dr. Spin. I love that dude. I forgot when you told me about that. But I'm glad he just, he was down. I was like, hey, bro, what's up, man? We need somebody help. I've told him about it. I shot it at him a while back. But I appreciate how he's just ready to drop everything and be a part of this movement, man. So I'm excited about today, because my buddy's here along with this ride with y'all, my two other family members. He's my family. So we got this connection running, man. So I just can't wait to see how deep we can really get, because I know it's about to go get really into it. So I'm enjoying this moment.
Facts. Scorpio, how you doing? How you doing, brother?
I'm always great, man. I'm blessed to be here today. I always feed off 333's energy, like always, and it's always a pleasure, to be with my brother Preacher on this. And Dr. Finn, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. And it was a good day today, so I'm always pumped to do my show with you, and it's always great. So, but how are you feeling today, bro? How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing. I think I have like some mixed feelings. Just found out yesterday my license was suspended, so just found that out. But was able to get an ID, starting a new job as a peer support.
That's right.
So I'm my start date will be September 30th. It was supposed to be this coming Tuesday, but because I didn't have an ID, couldn't do fingerprinting, so that kind of got held off. But so I was upset about that yesterday because I was really waiting for like a month to start this job, and so that had me down a little bit yesterday. But for the most part, just with this podcast and starting the job and everything, I feel good. I feel good about that. I said in group today. I have group on Thursdays at 10, and I said that just for you, Dr. Spin, I used to be a student pastor, and so student pastor, have worked with homeless and addicts like pre-addiction, and so when I stepped down from being a student pastor and then I got highly addicted, I felt like I lost my purpose, and felt like I was like going off the deep end, because I was, and now doing this podcast and now getting this job as a peer support, it almost, and then I play drums at church now, and like it just feels like I have purpose again.
There you go.
So it feels good. So, but so I like that. I think we're gonna do that like every episode. Just no one asks how are you doing and actually is interested in hearing it. So thank you guys. That was awesome. But to dive in, we're just gonna rip off the Band-Aid and jump in. I mixed two things: rip off the Band-Aid and jump in the pool. Don't do it. I suggest not to. It's not good. But so what? A couple things. What was it that you were addicted to? And then for how long were you in addiction?
I actually didn't even take my very first drink until I was almost 21. It was
okay.
I was 20, a few months before my 20th birthday, and I remember the first taste of Miller Golden. Is that it? But I just remember the taste of the Miller beer being so incredible, and it was just like, it was just off to the races, And for me, it was an instant alcoholic saying of, one's too many and 1,000's not enough.
Yeah.
And from that day on, it was 30 years straight until this past April. Yeah. I've been sober since April 25th. And so
congratulations.
Yeah. It's the longest time in my life, other than
that's right.
Then believe it or not, the 2 years I spent in prison. So even that DWI didn't teach me to stop drinking. So yeah, the power of addiction is pretty damn crazy, man. So
I was gonna say, isn't that crazy how like things will happen? Like I OD'd, and I know Scorpio has a couple times, and I don't know about 333, but like I mean, like
that's the OD part, but I've been under. Yeah,
like stuff like that happens to us in addiction. You think like just for me, like you think after you die and are brought back to life, that you'd be like, maybe it's time for me to stop. but
think about doing something else.
But I remember like
learn your lesson.
besides saying like, guys, we got to go because like we can't stay here because the cops are gonna come. I wanted to keep smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just got brought back to life, and you want to start smoking the thing that killed you again?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It's just there's like something off in our minds when we do this addiction thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I remember I had a seizure and then I ended up ODing, and I remember like my fiance, she came in the hospital. I was like, oh my God, thank God you're finally here. I'm pulling fucking IVs out my arm and everything. We get in the car and the first thing I'm like, all right, you ready to go? And she's like, where are we going? I was like, we're going to get fucked up. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, I've been in the hospital. Like, let's go. You know, not even like really in my head thinking like, yo, like, dude, you just fucking almost died. Like, really? Like, cause like that's how, you know, the fucking chip fucks your head up so much. Like, and a regular person would have been like, yo, what the fuck? like, come on, dude. That's fucking insane.
A regular person would be like, why would you even put a deadly poison in your body in the first place?
Exactly.
Facts. Like the fact you got to that point in the first place. Like, come on.
Exactly.
So, like I said, we want to go a little bit deeper than just and then like, hey, what's your story? We want to know like the down deep stuff. And so, and I know in talking about who we are, our story naturally comes out when we do that, because you can't tell who you are unless you tell what happened to get you to who you were. And so, the first question that we want to talk through is just like prior to addiction, and because like I've heard many different age ranges and people starting from like 12 to 16 to like now you 20, like, and so prior to you getting addicted, like who was Dr. Spin prior to that point?
Man, that's a really good and fascinating question. Because that's a bit of a journey of self that I've been on myself lately. I honestly, after 30 years of drinking and drugging, guys, and I think it's probably a common sentiment, I do not remember a lot of my childhood, teenage years, 20s, 30s, drug years. I mean, if somebody specifically says, hey, you remember the time you did that? Yeah, it'll probably spin back into the memory, but trying to remember it myself, it's just not there. So what was I like before drugs? I don't know. I made good grades in school and had friends and all that teenage jive and stuff like that. But, you know, I couldn't tell you who I was.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. And for the last 30 years, I thought I knew who I was.
Yeah.
You know? And then that's the disease in the game. And I think the saddest thing is that, you know, it's worse for people who are, you know, somewhat successful in business and or even famous in fame, because, you know, you have all the fame and the money and the success. And so then the drugs and the alcohol become, hey, I deserve this. Yeah. I earned it. You know, it's the stupidest thing in the world, because again, you did all that hard work to get that fame and that money or whatever it is, and you want to put a deadly poison in your body.
Since you're talking about that, bud, why don't you tell them a little about that business that you got, that you had to have to put down, about that little glass you showed me about, bro.
Oh, the Oklahoma business, yeah. So one of the things that you know, whether it was wise or not, I don't know, but from 2012 to 2019, I was part owner in a business up in Oklahoma City. There was a brewing company / restaurant. Did very well, and then COVID hit and it went so. But the whole, you know, concept of an alcoholic owning a brewery, or, you know, being part owner of a brewery, you know, how smart is that? Honestly, I'll be deadly honest. The thinking in my head was, hey, this will be great. You know, I won't have to pay for alcohol anymore. And that's 7 years.
And crazy though, that's an addict's mindset.
Yeah, like, you know, it is. So again, you know, but it was also where I went into it with a business mindset of, making money and, possibly expanding, maybe multiple restaurants in the future or whatnot. It never became that because, the alcohol really took over. And it was, every weekend you have to do some kind of promotion or event, and you end up with 50, 100, 150 new friends. Everybody knows your name. And we've had a successful little bar, but that's what I'm saying. The success in and of itself is always a drinking game. It was always it just ends up being a constant circle that you can really never truly focus on actual business success.
Yeah. No, and what's interesting is because the guest right before you is someone that I knew growing up, and his addiction was alcohol as well. And one thing that he talked about with us was that because he's a musician, and so he's like that was just a natural part of that lifestyle. Is we would get done with the gig and we would drink, and he's like it was a weird one because it's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not like you're smoking crack or doing heroin where people are like
worse.
Because it's so easily accessible. I was thinking about that after we talked to him. We had to okay, let's make sure we park way away from this trap house, and then we have to look around when we walk up to the trap house to make sure cops aren't around. Then when you leave, you're like, ooh, are they following us? You can, if you're addicted to alcohol, you just walk into a grocery store. I don't know about how it is in Texas, but our grocery stores have the alcohol section. You can walk in, buy a 6-pack and walk out. It's so easily accessible, unlike other drugs and substances. And so what led to just you getting to that point of being addicted to alcohol?
Oh, it was the first drink. It's for me, it's absolutely genetic. I'm Polish. If we traced our lineage back, probably a couple centuries, and back into the middle 1700s, and came up with, we were winemakers over in Poland before my ancestors came here to America. So yeah, I've got hundreds of years of alcoholic genes built up in me, and it was that one beer trigger for me.
Yeah.
And it never really mattered what the drink was, whether it was beer or whiskey or tequila. I mean, I didn't care. I could never ever stop at one, ever.
Yeah.
3 or 5 or 6. I mean, the room had to be spinning for me to be, satisfied and content. And you wake up the next day and you think, for some people that's fine. Hey, I went out, I got drunk, I had a good time, I don't want to do it again for a month, But no, for an alcoholic, it's all right, let's go get another bottle,
Yeah.
And it's terrible. It's a terrible cycle, because I remember waking up morning after morning after morning, puking my guts out. My head's killing me, the hands are shaking, and it's out of control shit. And then as soon as that liquor store opens, I'm getting that bottle, with the excuse, well, I gotta have this to stop the shakes. It's and it does at that point in time, it does become medicine. It really does, and you gotta fucking have it every day. And it sucks, and it's a sucky, shitty way to live. And I was in that trap for a lot of years, And for me personally, I finally got tired of just the pain and suffering. Going to the emergency room with, severe stomach pains, thinking I was dying, because my esophagus was all inflamed from throwing up so much, things like that, and just finally, when I went to Willow Springs back in April, I mean, I was a goddamn 278 pound mess is what I was back in April. Yeah. 5 months of not drinking, I've dropped almost 50 pounds.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing. And I feel great. It's like, it clears up. And I was telling my girlfriend the other day, I said, I'm really actually mad at myself for all those years of drinking, not for the money I wasted and the opportunities I wasted, but going back to what you said, who am I?
Yeah.
Alcohol puts such a fog and such a mask on us that we don't really get to know or experience who we truly are. Mm-hmm. We're always living in that fog of alcohol, trying to find our way out of it, or trying to get more, or drugs. It's the exact same way. Yeah. And then that's been my biggest revelation, is that, wow, oh my gosh, my mind still works great, and holy crap, I'm discovering all these new things about me that I actually like. That's an interesting comment my psychiatrist here, because I always had a hard time loving myself. I really did. I don't know why. And lately it's really gone back to just appreciating myself for who I am, what I am, my feelings, my emotions, and giving myself credit. And I think that self-love is absolutely key to beating the disease on every level.
Absolutely. And I think, I know, just for me, one thing I think about all the time is everything that I've lost because of addiction. And I've always said, like, it's easy for me to forgive other people around me, and I was able to forgive a lot of people easily, like, surprisingly. But then when it got to myself, that's like, I'm still working on it. Like, I'm still trying to, like, hold on, Kyle's burping. There we go. I thought I pressed you. I'm sorry. I'm still trying.
I'll send you the link if you want to watch it.
See, that's the real part of the podcast. That's what I like.
Now, it would be interesting if I could get her to do it. That girl is a character. That's my ex up in Virginia, and she's never had. I might be able to get her on. She's really shy, but she's had a drink like 5 times in her life.
Yeah.
She never smoked a cigarette, never smoked a joint, never.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, just straight. And was with me for 12 years.
Wow.
I was going full throttle, smoking, drinking, snorting, and she was such a saint, absolutely fine with it. Never, bad me. This is talk about trying to forgive yourself. I feel so bad for trying to say, here you go, come on, honey, just try it one time, just take one hit, and I feel like such a shithead these days. God, who was I trying to freaking corrupt that sweet soul? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Again,
I would love to get somebody like that on the show.
I'm trying to do that to them, give them that gift.
And I actually, because I do want to have people that have like family members and loved ones who have dealt with our addiction, and find out from their perspective, like, what was it like to deal with us, stubborn, hard-headed addicts.
That just don't, just how we were back then, and just have somebody explain it.
But like I said, loss has been like a real part of me healing, and just thinking about all the things that I've lost. And it's because I was like, I don't want to say I was a shitbag, but I definitely acted like a shitbag at times. And I know, like 333 said when he was on, like, he wasn't a piece of shit. He just hung out with people that were, like, and it led us to doing things that pieces of shit would do. And so I just know for myself, like, when I was in addiction, there's a lot of who I wasn't who I wanted to be. And wasn't who even I imagined myself being when I was younger. Like I was telling Scorpio earlier, like I think last night, who I wanted to be was someone who helped people, someone who made people happy, someone who, that's why I became a student pastor. That's why I started working in the human service field, because I wanted to help people. But then who I was when I was addicted was someone who destroyed lives and destroyed everything around me, like, and burnt bridges with relationships. And so for you, like, while you were in addiction, who were you while you were in addiction, and how were your relationships and those things, like the everyday day-to-day life kind of things?
when it came to being in the business world, working in corporate America, I maintained the professional sense of, responsibility and duty. But at 5 o'clock, when the suit and tie came off or the whistle rang, for me, it was straight to the bar. And it was, either chasing pussy or chasing the high or whatever it may be, and yeah, so definitely two different guys. Party Steve by night and corporate Steve by day. It was definitely me.
How was that, like, was it easy to just switch on, or was it like, okay, let me stop and now I'm the party guy?
It was I wouldn't call it a switch. I'd call it a burden.
Yeah,
I really would. Because what it led to me was ultimately an overwhelming sense of guilt. You go to work hungover, and so you're not as quick or as sharp as the rest of the team or what have you, and you're sweating, and your head feels like shit, and so that kind of stuff. So I always felt guilty at work, because I would think to myself, gosh, I'm the only one sitting here hungover, and look at all these other successful people who just they don't drink every night, and here they are sober, and here I am feeling like shit. And so that in of itself, those kinds of thoughts when you're supposed to be focusing on work, that's just carryover and distraction of alcohol. So yeah, it was I really feel that I didn't accomplish as much as I could have, quite simply because I was always carrying the burden of alcohol and addiction. Yeah.
When and I found this interesting. Again, like it's drinking alcohol is more socially acceptable than taking a pipe and smoking crack.
Yeah.
And so one thing we talked about with the last guest was just like eventually like how many college kids do you know that will be up all night, they get drunk and they're asleep hungover, or if a husband and wife go to a like Christmas party for their job and they drink a little bit too much, and it's like, oh man, I drank a little bit too much and now I have a hangover. And so it's almost even the result of drinking too much is socially acceptable at times.
Yeah, like, it's such a strange thing, because when you're able to step away from it with a sober mind and look at it from a sober perspective, the cost and the time is just incalculable. It really, really is. It's not. And the sad part is that it's as you said, alcohol has been socially acceptable. And that's a terrible mind trick.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to go back to the fact that it is a deadly poison. Put it on some paint or some steel, it'll eat through steel. It'll eat the paint off a wall. It'll certainly eat a stomach if you put enough in it. It's deadly stuff.
The fact that you can clean a wound with it.
Yeah. Sterilize the wound, absolutely, man.
So because it's so socially acceptable, even the results of it, and people will be like, oh man, like some people go to work with a hangover and the boss is like, oh, here's some Tylenol. And so when did you start realizing, like, man, I have a problem? Because of it being so socially acceptable.
Wow. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I realized I had a problem probably in my early 30s when I started shooting meth at work. Yeah. And I had actually got into that because I wanted to stop drinking.
Wow.
And it's an odd thing for me. When I do meth or Adderall or what have you, I have no desire to drink, or had no desire to drink when I was doing those things. And so, substitute one for another. But I remember being in a big corporate office building and, down in the restroom, shooting up speed in my suit and tie, toilet. Yeah. It's one of those things. And then you end up walking around the building, going, I hope nobody notices. Hope nobody notices. Nobody notices how I am, and so it's like the nonsense that we do to ourselves.
Yeah.
of addiction, in the name of, and then we're fooling our brains saying, you know, oh, I'm doing this because it's pleasurable, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's hell.
Absolutely. Like, and it. Did you notice a decline in relationships? Because people will put up with so much of someone being hungover and things like that, again, because it's socially acceptable. So there's like there's, compared to crack and coke and heroin and things like that, like there's like extra room people who are addicted to alcohol have before other people start saying, like, bro, you have a problem. When did, how was that when people started looking and being like, okay, this isn't like just oh man, I had a little bit too much to drink last night. When did that happen and people start realizing, like, man, this dude has a little problem?
Yeah.
Like, how was that?
There was more than one occasion where people will politely say, ooh, your breath stinks, you know, and it's just because you reek of alcohol from the night before. And I've had people several times in the office say, you know, ooh, you partied hard last night, you know, and yeah, it's because it's so obvious. But you're right, it's absolutely acceptable. People just blow it off like it's no big deal, you know.
Yeah.
If you're showing up to work in that state of mind, I mean, it should be more than, hey, good job for you partying. It should be, hey, do you need some help?
Yeah.
Yeah, because.
And I think, like, how many times could someone who has been addicted to alcohol, how many times it could have been stopped if someone were to have just, like, early on been like, yo, it's not right that you're, like, staying up all night drinking and then coming into work. Like, is everything okay? Just like how we said at the beginning, like, how are you? Like, right. is everything okay? Like, just because I know, like, just with my addiction, like, and it's the same with every addiction. We're trying to cover up some stuff, and there's like underneath pain that suddenly goes away. And so, like, I just think how many times, even with any addiction, like, if someone, and this is for people who are listening who like are on the outside of addiction, like find out how people are doing. Like, it's that mental health aspect.
It is, yeah. And human contact is just so essential, you know, whether it be, you know, a chat like this on a video or a phone call, or just taking a walk to the store and, you know, maybe bumping into a stranger and saying hello.
Yeah.
Human contact is very, very essential.
I heard someone say today, I've been doing a lot of talking.
I was just saying, I think that's what changes throughout time, and I think that's why like drug and addiction has gotten worse over time, because we don't do that anymore. It's not like back in the day where your parents would tell you go outside and play. It's right. More, you know, stay inside, you know, and, you know, whether play video games and stuff like that, or stay online, and you don't have that contact with anybody anymore. So that connection that you would make when you were younger, you don't make that connection anymore. And then when you become an adult, you don't really know how to make that connection as an adult. Yeah. So it's harder now. So now how do you make that connection now? It's 10 times harder now as an adult to be like, damn, how, you know, it's like, how do I make friends? You know, now that I'm an adult.
As an adult, you can't be like, hey, do you want to come play Legos?
You feel me?
Yeah.
You want to play with my Hot Wheels car at 35 years old? Like, wait, what? You know, that's not how that works. And you don't, and there's not enough activities as an adult, you know, that's a positive thing. You know, so at certain points, it's not like, and that's where the negative shit comes from. Because now, as you get older, the negative shit comes in. So instead of you saying, oh, like you said, we can't go and say, ooh, let's go play with Legos. But what do you say?
Let's go to the bar.
Hey, you want to go? There you go. Or, hey, you know, you want to smoke this with me? Or you want to go play cards and go smoke? And then that's what opens the door to the addiction part. And then it changes. And then you sit there and say, those are my brothers. Those are my friends. But those aren't your fucking friends. Those aren't your fucking friends. Because if they were your friends, then those are addiction friends. And then ask yourself, how many of those motherfucking friends do you have right now that you're not in addiction no more?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what's crazy. It's like you don't really have that connection anymore, and that kind of falls back on, you know, you don't really make those connections when you're younger anymore, and that's generational. It sucks, but you know it starts when you're young, and you have to kind of, you know, you got to kind of grow into that. That's why it needs to change when we're younger. You know, that we have to change that early on before we get to, you know, our point. You know.
Yeah.
Before we turn to who we are now, you know, trying to fix the shit now as we get older.
Yeah.
You know, you bring up a really interesting point that's really, it speaks to a deeper societal issue, and that's the fact lack of role models. You know, there has really, I think, a gap of role models for the last 20, 30 years. I mean, really positive role models. And so, like, say, me, like a Shaquille O'Neal, you know, he works with, you know, children, things like that. A lot of athletes are doing that now. But I think there was probably a gap there from the early 90s to somewhere around the 10s or mid-teens until it really started to pick up steam with, you know, people, you know, creating, you know, what I'm talking about, like, you know, basketball leagues for kids, and instead of, you know, just letting them wander the streets or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And just that little gap alone has caused so much damage. Just that little bit of gap. You know, just what are you talking about? Maybe what, 15, 20 years in that little bit? And just that alone, look how much damage that is done over like a generational period. You know, we've literally gone from, you know, a couple of thousand, you know, people that are homeless and addicts to like tens of thousands that are now homeless and addicts, and the number is growing. It's not like it's getting smaller. It's getting worse and worse and worse. You know, for every 2 addicts you can save, another 4 addicts have become addicts down the line. You know, so it's hard. It's not an easy thing. You know, that's why, you know, you need things like the podcast that we're doing. You know, you need people like Dr. Spin that's sitting there. You need people like 333 that's sitting there dropping his knowledge to people. You need people like that to continue doing what they're doing and let people know, yo, you know, there's a different way than what you're doing. You know, there's definitely a different path. You know, you got to have those people out there.
Yeah, well said.
I heard one thing about connection, and then I'll pass it to 333 if he has anything to say.
Oh, you mean Shadow Man back there?
Shadow Man, the Shadow Ninja. I think it was on Instagram, and there was one guy talking, and he said the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, wow. And I thought, just like what we've been talking about, like how if I would have connected with and it's not even if I would have connected with the right people. Like, one reason why I got so far into addiction is because when I stepped down from being a student pastor, I felt like I had been abandoned by the church I was a part of. And no one had reached out to me. No one asked if I was doing okay.
Did anyone even notice?
And that's how it felt. Because I remember one day I even looked at their Instagram, and they like showed the student ministry, and like I wasn't in any of the pictures. And in my mind, I jumped to like, man, they don't even realize I'm gone. Like, and it just felt like that connection, that the relationship aspect of it. Like, and then I was going through a divorce and things like that. And so I felt like all the connections that I had were gone. And the only connection I had were these people who were smoking, and I felt like, okay, the people at church, they don't understand what I'm going through with my wife. They don't understand the fact that I can't see my kids. They don't understand the fact that I went from a 2-income household now down to my income, and that I'm struggling inside and I'm broken. And I felt like, okay, they don't understand, but the people that understand what I'm going through are these people who are smoking crack right next to me.
Yeah.
Because half of them can't see their kids. Half of them don't talk to their parents. Half of them were doing something and now are stuck in this life. And so I think that connection is extremely important, because then when we get connected to the right people, and that's what I love about this podcast, it's connecting the right people. And so I just think that connection aspect of it is huge. But 333, you have anything on that?
Yeah, I just want to get back to what I talked about with the common bond. You know, we come from all walks of life right here. And my buddy right here, you know, coming from that corporate part, it really shows that this thing hits everybody. And it doesn't discriminate. And it's just a beautiful thing, man, how we can all just collaborate on something like this. And the fact that, you know, it's going to touch people in corporate life too as well, not just from the streets or homelessness like what we talked about and when I was featured on it. But my buddy here brings a whole different aspect of it. You know, I was shocked because I forgot when he was telling me he used to slam. And it's just, you know, you can't judge a book by its cover at all. Yeah. And, you know, it's crazy though. But I love the fact that this movement's getting started because, you know, this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
For my 2 cents, I honestly feel that there is probably a very large percentage of corporate America that could use, you know, some type of intervention to their employees. Because, you know, I was just an average mid-level guy, you know, not like a super executive or anything, but it's those mid-level people who get up every day, go to work, and then have to go home and take care of the kids. And, you know, again, it becomes, hey, I deserve this alcohol after work or a drug or whatever it may be. And I think there's probably, I would dare to bet 50% or more of individuals, just you would never guess it, in corporate America are struggling with some sort of addiction, burden of addiction.
Yeah, it just shows how broken we are as a human, as an individual. And we're all, and this just goes to the overall arching, I guess you could say, mission of this. It shows that we're all trying to figure out who we are at the end of the day. And I think even addiction is part of that, because I know when I was on the street smoking, I was still trying to figure out like who am I? Like, because who I thought I was, like, has been ripped away. And I think that's the importance too of not basing our identity off of something tangible, like a job or a person or something like that. Because when it's ripped away, and that's what we were basing our identity off of, like I totally found myself basing my identity off being a student pastor. Who I was the student pastor. And then when I didn't have that anymore, I'm like, who the heck am I?
Yeah.
I remember Antonio Brown, once he left the Steelers, and he was going through that whole Oakland Raider thing, and then with the Patriots and his up and down roller coaster of life.
Bring the Steelers into the
always black and yellow. And so I remember he did an interview. I forget what he did. A lot of interviews around that time, but I remember one I heard him say, he was like, he said, I know who AB is. He said, I know who AB the football player is. He said, but I don't know who Antonio Brown is. And I remember that hitting me, because I'm like, I know who Antoine the student pastor is. I know who Antoine the husband is, Antoine the dad is, but and I'm just having to figure this out now.
Yeah.
Who's Antoine? Like, I never knew who Antoine was. And so for you, coming out of addiction and really everything being like your identity being torn in a bunch of different like ways. Who is Dr. Spin like today? Like who outside of addiction and having gone through everything that you've gone through, like who are you today?
I'm actually thankful in a very strange way for my addiction. Because through all those experiences of scoring drugs, doing drugs, pawning stuff, to get drugs, although it may be horrible, each of those experiences, have built me character-wise into the individual that I am. I think if you took away the drugs, I probably would be a lot less street smart, shit like that,
Absolutely, yeah.
Savvy as to knowing how, excuse me, ladies, not to say it this way, but it's how clever women are when they want to be.
You said it so polite. You said it so polite.
My boy.
Ladies will do certain things. Leave it at that. But yeah, all those aspects. Speaking truth. I'm glad I didn't turn out to be that guy with a wife and 2 kids, a dog, and a white picket fence house and a minivan. Although that would be a beautiful thing to have. I would love to have that right now in my life.
That sounds boring.
Spending all my money on drugs and alcohol. But at the same time, I'm glad I'm not that.
Yeah,
I really am, because I think that I'm happy with who I am, and going back to what you said, I've given up on that regret. I don't feel sorry for myself anymore. Yeah, I don't. It's okay. What's to regret? It's done. It's over. And that's really where I'm at. I kind of, like you said, I'm rediscovering, who I am and what I want to be, and honestly coming to an understanding of what's actually possible in my life, which is something I never thought about, in addiction. What can I actually do? I mean, I had dreams of, I'd like to be this someday, but I never thought about the steps of, hey, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like that. And really, to go deep for me, my ultimate dream in life would be to give something back to the world. I'm big into things like pyramids and ancient, architecture and stuff like that. There's a brand new pyramid in Bosnia called the Pyramid of the Sun. It's 5 times larger than the one in Egypt. They're digging it up now, for like 10 years. And they've given an open call to the world. Anybody can come in to Sarajevo, just north of Sarajevo, and help participating in this, digging up at this pyramid. And so I thought that would be really cool to save up my money, go there for a season, 3-4 months, and dig up the pyramid.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Some
people can go skydiving or whitewater rafting. I want to go dig up a pyramid.
That sounds cool.
See, thinking like that is something I never would have done in addiction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've noticed that, like, there's a lot of things that, and it just goes with the loss. Like, there's a lot of things that I loved to do prior to addiction that once addiction happened, I stopped doing. And it like drumming. I love playing drums. And I lost that. Like, I lost the, even as a student pastor, like I loved being a student pastor. I loved it. Like, I always told people, my grandpa used to tell me, when you find something that you love to do, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
That's right.
And for the first time, like, in my whole life, I finally found that when I was a student pastor. And like, I remember, and I've said it a bunch of times, like my last message, my last youth group, like before I stepped down, I didn't find any enjoyment. And I was addicted. I was in my addiction. And I found no enjoyment in it. Because all I could think about was, I can't wait till this is over so I can go and smoke. I didn't find any enjoyment. Like, and you could tell in my message too, because my message was sloppy. It wasn't put together. Like, there was no connections. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And just even talking with the students and the leaders, like I didn't find, like, it was just like, okay, like, let's get this over with. And so I just, it takes away. Like, I made a video this morning talking about it, and it's like, who I was wanting to help people before addiction, and addiction took all that away, and it changed who I was, so much so that I had to, like, as I'm picking up all these pieces, have to figure out, who am I? And so it's like, I totally want addiction, like all addiction, to just like, and that's why we do this.
Yeah, I remember when that went down. I was with you when that went down, remember? And I remember, see, I never told you this, right? I was with Julia when that happened, and I remember telling her, I was like, like, we fucked up. We fucked up letting him get to this point, and watching him, do this to his career, watching him, get to this point, because we watched you deteriorate, and we were a part of that, we watched you go from, where you were, and watched you kind of, deteriorate your career as a preacher, and we saw how much it meant to you. And, I remember telling Julie, I was like, at the end of the day, if we cared about him, we wouldn't have watched this happen. We're no better, at this. And, at the time, it's just, when the addiction, it, like I said, it turns you into somebody that you really shouldn't be. And I remember telling her that, and she agreed with me. And I remember her saying, we got to fix this. And I remember that was one of the things that she wanted to fix. And, it's just unfortunate that, she's still in her, addiction right now. But I remember that was one of the things that she said she wanted to fix, was, she was like, yeah, we want to fix that. Now, obviously, we taking new roads to get to where we're trying to get to, because you found a way, not saying it's a better calling, it's just a different and hopefully a more meaningful and more fulfilling calling. So maybe that's why, because God, works in mysterious ways, and everything happens for a reason. And I'm a very true believer in that. So I think that maybe that may have been why this route happened. But I always did feel like, that was, kind of our fault on that aspect. Because if we were your friends, we should have stepped back and be like, nah, you need to stop. You need to kind of fall back on it and go back to your career, because it was important. Anybody that was with you could tell that. But that was art. That was that like I said, the addiction makes you do real stupid shit. And turns people into real dumb people at that time. Like, you know what I mean? But you already know what it is. You already know.
No, but in light of that, I'd like to say, man, preacher, if it wasn't for you putting me on, and you know what I'm saying, giving me a step back in my life, and really being able to promote and really put in my all to recovery like I'm doing, bro, to call my brother right here and get him to do this, because I know when he sees him saying it to himself, like it hit me, and and I know he's gonna be on the talks with y'all too now. However, this is something that's touching way more lives than I could have ever done, because I'm a very spiritual person as well, and I'm very critical. Me and my buddy here, we delve deep into certain topics that you can't really talk with anybody. But in this concept right here, anybody is welcome here, and that you will be able to hit so many people. You too. You know, I'm thankful y'all told me to come here. I'm glad my boy came here with us, because this is the start of something that's gonna go somewhere, dude. There's no friggin' way that this isn't. It might take some time, but you know I'm out here with it. He's gonna be, you know what I'm saying? The more people that get you do this with, the more doors it's gonna open, and their doors have doors behind those doors. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this is something that's powerful.
Absolutely.
And I do the same thing, bro. I follow you, man. You go, I go. So.
And in the one, like you said, Dr. Spoon, like you're almost not glad that you were addicted, but glad that it did happen. Like, because you learned a lot of things. And I know I learned a lot about myself. I know Scorpio learned a lot about himself. I know 333 probably learned a lot about himself. Like, and I learned I was a lot stronger than I thought I was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some of the shit, like just that, like Scorpio and I and his wife and her sister, some of the shit that we had to go through, like sleeping in the car and not having any money and not being able to eat and having just, yes, it's stuff that we did to ourselves, but it still was the bottom of the hole. And I learned so much about myself in the process of addiction, and now even coming out, I've learned I'm even stronger than what I thought I was in addiction. Like recovery isn't for the faint of heart at all. Like you have to be. I used to have a clothing brand.
Well, you better be ready to do a lot.
I used to have a clothing brand called Built Different.
Yeah.
And it was just for people that had like that grit. And to go through recovery and stay sober, like you have to be built different. And so what have you learned about yourself just in this journey of sobriety and recovery?
I'm honestly too young into it to really effectively comment very deeply on it. I honestly don't know. I'm a lot like you. It's a real rediscovery of self. It's unfortunate. I have this regret of, like, golly, I fucked off 30 years, never got married, never had kids, never bought a house, that kind of shit, I'm having a hard time getting rid of the guilt of, waking up to the fact that I've been in a fog thinking that I was doing okay. And turns out, well, I wasn't doing okay. I was a fucked up mess for 30 years,
Yeah.
And so trying to rediscover myself, it's like, the question I'm asking is, what do I really want to do with the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I'm 55, so I think I've got 30 left, hopefully, maybe more, but shit, the clock's ticking, so it's, I guess that's a good point right there. It's like, when you're doing drugs, you don't really care about the passage of time at all. You don't. And the years just roll and fly by, and some people never wake up. And I'm glad to be sitting here realizing that I've woken up out of that fog and now have really a second chance at life to, look at life and say, what do I want to do with the next 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. But right now, that's all I've learned for now.
And that's such a beautiful thing to come out of it and realize, like, not everybody gets a second chance.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, because like I said, I focused a lot on and I'm working on it, is all the things that I've lost. And I literally, like, I'm sitting in this room right now, living at a veteran's house with 13 other vets. And my car was repoed, my license is suspended, I have no job right now, like, I'm broke, Like I am literally like, all I have right here is everything. And I thought the other day, like, I could focus on everything I lost, or focus on the fact that now I have a clean slate to start fresh.
There you go.
And not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
Especially because there's a lot of people who have lost their life to this, like, and haven't had a chance to start fresh. And so, and then there's a lot of people that have ruined their life prior to, like, without getting addicted, that don't have a chance to restart. And so I look at it as, just like you said, you have time. Like, it may not be all the time in the world, but it's more time than what we had when we were in addiction.
No, absolutely. You know, and a little side story of mine is, I'll share that back in 2019, I slipped and fell on the ice in Pittsburgh and shattered all my lower lumbar in my spine. Yeah.
Stupid Pittsburgh.
And I get cadaver bone and plates and screws. That was 1 year straight. And so that really led to an intense period of sadness and, hopelessness. And am I ever going to walk again? Literally couldn't stand up for 2 years.
Wow.
So that led to a lot more drinking. And unfortunately, they were feeding me OxyContin. So
wow.
there's that part of it. And yeah, for like, I was in a coma from 2019 to 2022, literally.
Wow.
Pain coma. And so that really led to a lot of my newfound appreciation of life. But even then, I mean, I got out of the wheelchair in October of 2023. I finally put it back in the closet. So it's just been that little bit. And just like once I started feeling better, even though I had sat there in that wheelchair and told myself, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better person if I ever get to walk again, Lo and behold, as soon as I could walk again, right to the damn bar. Right to the bar, every day. And that's how I ended up at Willow Springs in April.
Yeah.
So it never goes away. It really, really never goes away. And that demon will stay on your back forever.
In the parking lot doing push-ups.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. I think someone named 333 said that.
Right. That's right.
So I would like to thank you, Dr. Spin, again for last minute jumping on.
Yeah.
And like, just in closing, what's, if you could, not if you could, because I'm asking if you can. What I thought about that. Like, if you could leave One Piece, well, he's going to leave One Piece. So what one piece of wisdom do you want to leave for those that listen to this, that they can walk away with?
Every day when you wake up, be thankful. Because you've got hopefully 2 arms, 2 legs, breath in your lungs, eyes to see, a brain to think. Hopefully it's, you've got a roof over your head, a job, food in your mouth, clothes on your back. There's so many things that we can be thankful for that, people get up and they think their lives are miserable or terrible. And, it's really not. I mean, it's really not. And so, yeah, just get up every day and be thankful that you have breath in your lungs, because just that very fact, means that you can live to fight another day.
Wow. I think we definitely need to close on that. That was like, wow, that hit me like, whew. Yeah. But I
appreciate the little things and love yourself. That's
absolutely
addiction.
How many times do we get, like, I've even noticed myself here, like, I walk in the kitchen and I said it to the lady who runs this place. I was like, yo, where's the jelly? I don't.
Oh my God.
Hold on. Before you judge me. for weeks.
Before you judge me, let me just clear this up real quick.
So I had asked when they went to the store if they could get jelly, and for like 2 weeks I didn't want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and there was jelly in the fridge. I finally one day I'm like, you know what? Today's a good day for a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So I opened the fridge, no jelly, and I was like, there's no jelly. But then I thought about it when I got back to my room. I'm like, man, you just made a huge fuss over no jelly when you were just like 6 months ago, you were living in your car, not eating nothing. And now you're making a fuss over jelly. And so you saying like, be thankful that I'm in a house and not living in my car, and I at least have food in my stomach, because some people don't
eat a
have
dry peanut butter sandwich and like it.
That's right. You will like and be thankful.
But I definitely am thankful for the fact that you were on here. And again, it's something that people who are listening, you might have to play this back a couple times to truly like hear everything that has been said. And so I thank everybody for, like, we couldn't do this if people weren't watching. If it was like, but we still would. If it was 5 people subscribed, we still would do this, because at least one person here. I just got a text from somebody today who they haven't been addicted to anything, but they happened to go to the hospital yesterday, and they gave them opiates for the pain, and they said, I understand like the feeling I got when they gave it to me. They were like, I understand how someone could get addicted to this.
Yeah.
And she said, the first thing I thought was your podcast. And so like people are hearing this, and people are taking things away from this, and so I thank everybody who's listening, everybody who has supported this. We couldn't do this without you guys. And then for anybody who's in addiction, like there's a way out. Like you don't have to stay stuck where you are. Like, and I know a lot of people who stay in addiction because they're like, man, I have warrants. Like, that's, at the end of the day, that's not a good enough reason to kill yourself daily.
Yeah.
Like, and so there's help. I mean, all you have to do is reach out to us, and we can help you along the way. And so thank you all for being on this again. But that is it for today. Next week we have another amazing guest, and so come back next week and we'll be here in Preacher's Corner. So
sounds good. Be well, everybody. Stay healthy.
I just want to say again, thank you for watching Preacher's Corner. It has been amazing to have you on today. Just a couple things. Remember, every day we lose someone to addiction. Not everyone is as lucky as we are. And so our way to remember those people is by putting their names up at the end of each show, and we'll see that in a few seconds. But if you know anybody that has ever lost their life to addiction, we want to know. And so either let us know in the comments below, or I'll put my email for Preacher's Corner in the description. So email us so that we can remember those individuals every time at the end of this show. Next, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, like the show, and then click that bell so that you can be notified every time that we upload a new video, a new episode. We have a lot of things coming. We have Thursday Thoughts with me, Preacher. We have Thursday Thoughts with 333. He will be. We're going to be adding him on to Thursday Thoughts, and then my boy Scorpio. And then we have some merch coming out. I'll put the link in the description below. Some awesome merch. at the Corner Swag Shack. And so we want everybody to be able to support sobriety, support recovery, and support this channel. And so go ahead and check that merch out at the link in the description. But besides that, that is all that we have today. Again, thank you for coming. Until next time, remember to always love yourselves and love each other. God bless.